Well, here we are back on the roadrunner. I was going to put this alternator on permanent, so I wanted to paint the block behind it, so I wouldn't have to take it off and do it again. So since I was painting, I went ahead and painted the motor and cleaned up the valve covers. There's the other one there. They're painted. Yeah, looks pretty good. Really nasty compared to the rest of it, but anyway, I got these two brackets. I cut that one to where it would fit. The bolts going through into the head. I got the adjustment arm down in there. I used a stud on that water pump bolt and two nuts, so that looks like that'll hold that good enough. Now I got to make two spacers, one for the top of it and one between the alternator and the block. I don't really have any pipe, so I found an old jack handle that probably work. So I got to cut me a couple pieces, put those in, and I should be able to tighten up that water pump and alternator. Then I can sort of proceed to wiring a voltage regulator and kind of in cycle on this. So that's what I'm doing now. Alright, I just whacked a couple pieces out on the lathe, and it looks like they fit perfect. And my belt and everything ought to go on it. And I'll be able to tighten it up. So that looks pretty good. I'll just pull it up tight and give it a snug and see what it looks like. Yeah, there it is, all snugged up. Belt's good and tight. It's all straight. Solid. These pieces here I cut within a few thousandths, so they're almost perfect. And that's plenty good for an alternator. Solid. And the chrome looks good, a lot better than those little raggedy rusty piece I had. Now I can kind of make me a little wiring harness and try to clean this mess up right here. Well, here we are on the roadrunner again. Cut out the old windshield. See it's rusted really bad. I'm not gonna try to put a new one in. Got a hole rusted here. So this needs some work before we do much of anything. Here's another windshield. It's got a crack in it. We can't really use it, but I can probably put it in here and seal some of the weather out. And clean this thing up, and we'll try to set it in here. Left the inside of this windshield rubber, but it needs to be, all this needs to be wire brushed out and cleaned. This dash needs to be taken apart, sanded. We've got another dash pad. Oh, it just, a lot of work. Guy paid $5,000 for this car. and he didn't really know what he was doing when he was looking at it. But anyway, my basic job here is to get it running and driving. Now we'll stick the windshield in it and see what it looks like. Now here on the driver's side, it's not rotted out too bad, but really this needs to be all this rubber, of course, needs to be pulled out, a new one put in, and this all wire brushed real good and painted. Probably the same with the dash here. The other side, yeah, here's the passenger side. It's rusted through really bad right here in the corner. You got a big hole in it here. So all of this needs to be taken out. And repaired. Anyway, maybe we can at least get it running and driving with this windshield just stuck in it here now. We'll see. I'm back here on the roadrunner again. I've got a bulkhead connector there, and you can see some of the wires here. Looks like these clowns tried to wire it with house wiring. I've got a schematic. One of these connectors there, you can see it's missing. And it wasn't going into the bulkhead. I don't know what's on the other side, but anyway, they had it wired up to a little short wire here with a clip or a circle terminal. And what this, according to the wiring diagram, that's supposed to be to the oil pressure warning light. So I'm just going to put in a smaller wire. I mean, they use stuff here that it's house wiring. You see it's covered with this clear plastic stuff. You can see all this huge wires here. I don't think any of this is original. Maybe that one yellow wire. They've got giant wires going here to the horn relay. So I've got both ends of this harness unwrapped there so I can at least check the wires. So right now what I'm going to do is, I got this cleaned up. I'm going to solder me a little wire in it, clean up that bulkhead connector and put it back in, and then I'm going to wire it according to the schematic. I'm going to save these wires, are too big, but that shouldn't hurt anything. And so this is supposed to be crimped, but I'm just going to solder it in there and clean this all up and see what I can get here. So anyway, roadrunner wiring. If I can get all this hooked up the way it's supposed to with a voltage regulator and everything, at least clean this harness up, and then I can get the key power and make sure I can start it with a key. I had to jump the solenoid over there. I've got a loose wire there too, so I'm just going to try to get this wired up best I can so at least it'll turn on and off and start with the key. And I can't check the charging until I get it running, but at least I can get the wires the way they're supposed to be. I dug all the silicone out of this, and it just goes in, and it's not grabbing anything. This little split in the brass is supposed to catch on something there, and it isn't. That's why they tried to silicone it. So I'm going to try to split this brass gap open a little and hope it'll hang. And if not, I'm going to just use some good epoxy and epoxy that thing in. Silicone's no good because it's real soft, and you put any pressure on it, it just pops back out. So that's what I'm going to try to do now. Well, I spread it open and it popped right in there and locked. So don't have to glue that one. It's nice and solid. I'm going to trace the rest of these wires down here and see what in the world they did. Looks like that one with a yellow covering on it. I'll look at the wiring harness and see what it does, because it comes over here, and that looks like it might be a pretty good wire, and it's got a end on it, so we'll see what that one is. Well, I traced this down here, and it's supposed to be for the temperature sending unit, but I checked the resistance from that end over there from the connector to here, and it was like 400 ohms or something. Turned out it was this little crimp connector that was in here. So what I did, I just took it apart, cut it out of there, and soldered it, and then I'll just put a little piece of heat shrink on it. Now, a lot of guys use those crimp connectors. I built several cars, and I don't care how good you do it or the fancy tool you got or anything else, it seems like that sooner or later, and usually sooner, you're going to have a problem with the connector. And then after you already taped up your whole wiring harness and you're all done, and something quits working. And it seems like it always traces down to a butt connector. So just for me, so I don't ever have to do it again, I go ahead and heat shrink everything, solder it and heat shrink it. That way I know for a fact that it's going to be good. And we'll just check here, and now I got 1.5 ohms. Okay, well, that's good enough for that much wire. It's sure a lot better than 400. And so I'll just stick this over there into where it goes, and there's this wire finished. Now looking at that thing, here's a brown wire. It's supposed to go to the windshield wiper motor, and sure enough it does. And it's in good shape, but that wire probably holds 50 amps. I don't know what their idea was there, but I'll see if I can maybe change that to a power wire or something. Yeah. Next one here is look like we got some silicone on this blue one. Top right from the pin. Top right from the pin is an in, that goes to, looks like the ignition on the regulator. So we'll trace that one down and see if it's right. And of course it's going into some kind of connector. Looks like this is what originally was supposed to go to the washer motor, and it's going to a red wire. He's got two of them wired together, so that's not right. That's a single wire that goes to the ignition. And the only other thing there is a ballast resistor that comes from the key. So I'm going to cut all that mess out and try to straighten this out. Well, here we are after a whole day's work. I've got all the connectors fixed there. I've got everything routed around here to my voltage regulator down there, and everything that's supposed to be. I got a pile of wires there, but the green one there's a starter. I still have to hook up the neutral switch and that, but I got it all working. Turn on the key and the right circuits get energized. The alternator's got power. It goes off when you turn off the key. Voltage regulator's good. Coil, I got a tap here into this red wire, and everything's at least electrically okay. The fuses are working inside. It's a mess in there too. Only thing I got really working is a dome light. And next will be to try to sort out this headlight harness here and get the front working. But at this point it looks like it's good enough to start. I spent about 4 hours on it today just trying to fix that connector. I thought I was going to have to replace it, the bulkhead connector there that goes through the back, but I think it'll be alright. So anyway, at least I got it hooked up now, and now I can start cutting up my wires to the right length and building harnesses for it. Anyway, this is kind of a done deal. Well, I'm on the roadrunner brakes. It was pretty straightforward. Here's the old cylinder. The problem is that it's got studs that are pressed in from the outside. You have to take the nuts loose on the inside. I never was able to get a tool on that top left one, so I took a cutoff wheel and just cut it off, and I'll just put a regular bolt in it. But I want to show you something here. Now this is a word to the wise. I don't even know if anybody will ever see this. Anyway, here's a stud I cut off. Punched it out through the back because I couldn't get to the nut on it. If you can see up in there, man, they're really hard to get to. And that top one, I just couldn't get. That's where the light's shining through. I couldn't get any kind of tool in there. These other three, I was able to get to them. I gotta put a nut on that one. But anyway, I'll show you something here. This these automatic or standard transmission cars, this clutch pedal is loaded. It's got a spring on it. See that? And that's a pretty strong spring. Now, what I was trying to do was reach up under here like this, blah blah blah, and I was holding this thing. I thought it might come loose, but with the rust and stuff here, it's not a knife edge, but it's really sharp right there. And this thing came down, hit my arm, and just took out about a inch square. Just peeled me good. So this thing here, and once you push it just past a little bit, and it wants to snap down. Then it's awfully strong. So just a word to the wise there. Be real careful when you're working around one of these things, and because that pedal will snap down, and that's a pretty sharp edge. And I was lucky. I was holding it with my left hand when it let go, because I was trying to hold a ratchet up under here like this. So anyway, other than that, there's not really too much to talk about here. I can get another nut on there on that top bolt and get it tightened up, and then I'm going to put just a regular bolt through the top and a nut, and tighten the nut from the outside because I can't get to it from in here. They might have a special tool. Maybe you could do it with regular tools. But man, I was using extensions and flex joints and you name it, and just couldn't get to that top one, so I cut it off. And if you do, that's what you're going to wind up with. Just cut the head off, punch it through. So other than that, you know, I didn't really learn much from putting this clutch cylinder in, but I really want to give you a word to warning. Be careful with that clutch lever.